Geeks Represent, where we talk about representation and issues that matters to us geeks. We are
Joe,
Daryl,
Marshall,
and joining us tonight, the amazing
Jashelle.
and your host, Sean. If the past few years have taught us anything, it's that our lives are heavily dependent on our healthcare. We literally can't live without it. But this doesn't eliminate an inherent distrust of our healthcare system in communities of color, especially amongst the older generations. So let's talk about people of color and their relationship with healthcare. To get us started, Jashelle, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to chime in tonight.
So I am a current third-year student. Only got like 1.5 months left, and then I'll be fourth year. Woo!
Ah, yeah. Nice. So we have our own resident med student, so that's why we have Jashelle today. So geeks, why do you think there's such a complicated relationship between people of color and healthcare? Start with you, Joe.
Sure. Well, I think especially for like the very, very religious people of color, and for me personally, I'm thinking of like Vietnamese Christians that might have come over here during the war. Like, there's a lot of belief that, like, I'm sure, like, for those who pray, I'm sure prayer is very important, but a lot of people like to treat it as like it's the difference between like life or death, or if you're sick, it's because you didn't pray enough. Which I think that's something that is not just contained to Asian people, right? Right, babe?
No, it's not. Luckily, my family has never really shared that sentiment, but I have heard of other African American families where the sentiment is that you just need to go to church, or is in God's hands now.
When you could really do something about it. And then there's, there's a specific, like, just certain personal beliefs that might like skew, for example, like homophobia, between the homophobia and colon screenings. Like, for anyone who's ever had a colonoscopy, one, you don't even know it happened. Like, I had mine done, and I'll be honest, like, they gassed me, and then I woke up, I was like, I didn't even feel anything. So, honestly, the worst part was, like, the prepping for it, but the process itself wasn't bad. But, you hear about, like, didn't you say there was a guy who, like, didn't want to because he thought it was gay to have anything inserted up the ass?
Yes, it was very unfortunate to hear that he shared such sentiment that any prostate exam, any colonoscopy, that basically equated to him being gay.
What about if it's a female practitioner, though?
It didn't.
It doesn't matter.
It didn't really matter to him.
So this guy doesn't like
he said, women get penetrated, not men. So
yeah. So I mean, Marshall, people who share the same sentiment. Like,
100%,
even if it's another woman, if you put like a finger up the ass, it's gay. Even if it's a woman doing it, so it's like
it's a weird connotation because it's like I never thought that way, but also I've never had anything inserted into me, so it's like I don't really care. I also don't like the doctors, so there's that.
We're only 10 or 15 years away from everyone getting. If you can get your colonoscopy, go get it.
Yeah, I should get one.
We're not. Don't you dare tell our listeners that.
No, like honestly, if you can get it, like
with insurance, please, check with your provider.
That is a huge issue. Yeah, it is correct. Yeah. And even with your insurance,
look at that
there is something to be made aware of for patients is that when you get colonoscopies, you get anesthesia. So usually, though, most anesthesiologists aren't actually in your insurance network. So that would be considered an out-of-pocket cost. So
it's bullshit.
It's just something that people should be made more aware of going into it so that when they get their bill, they're not surprised. Like, hey, how come the anesthesia costs so much?
Because technically the anesthesiologist doesn't work there. So they work for us, like they got third party, which sucks. But still, if I still hold it, if you can get it, because colon cancer is
on the rise.
Colon cancer is on the rise.
There is a particular reason why that they recently lowered colon cancer screening age from 50 to 45 now, because they're actually seeing an increase in colon cancer amongst younger population.
Dang.
So I do genuinely believe everyone needs to get their colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And if you're afraid of having something up your anal canal, at least consider getting the FIT test, which is the poop test, so that you can at least see if there's any positive detection there. And then you can make your decision whether or not you move forward to getting a colonoscopy.
Plus, it's highly treatable if you can catch it early.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's highly lethal if you let it go long too long.
Colon cancer is actually one of the most easiest treatable cancers because if they see a polyp, they just take it out right then.
Yeah. If they see anything, they don't even make a separate appointment. Like, oh, we have to do an operation. No, they see it. They're like, let's just cut it.
Yeah.
Gone.
It's pretty easy.
So they take out the polyp before it becomes cancer. But because most people generally are unaware or they're afraid, whatever kind of thing that makes them hesitant to get the colonoscopy, which is why colon cancer is actually like the top 3 types of cancer that most Americans have.
Yeah.
It's higher for Black Americans, right?
Yep. Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
How about y'all?
I was going to say, what does that dude do about wiping then?
Wait, what?
I said, what does that dude do about wiping if he doesn't want to?
Wiping? Like wiping your ass?
Yeah!
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he done.
They think it's gay? What? I'm still stuck on this.
I have heard that some people don't wipe their ass, though.
This
so
dude with swamp ass.
I've seen that meme. I think I've seen that some guy is like, oh, I don't wipe my ass deep because it's gay. You get fingered up there. Look at yourself.
Yeah, get rid of your little one-ply toilet paper. Get some double.
You know what? I hope that guy doesn't masturbate because wouldn't it be gay to touch a dick?
Yeah. Take one off.
And his girlfriend's pissed off. 10 seconds later, that's it? Wow. Okay.
He probably doesn't have a girlfriend if he's not wiping his ass.
That's true.
Oh, if he does, I swear to God.
Title of the episode, Wipe Your Ass. But anyway.
But I was going to build on the religious thing too. A lot of religious practices used to build upon you might deserve disease or whatever it be, or as a punishment because you were sinning and all that stuff. So yeah, it's kind of
that's so toxic.
It's pretty toxic and dumb. And yeah, once you pray and then everything heals away, you get cured too. And it's nah.
I just don't see any benefit from thinking that way. I guess the only people that benefits are people who luckily don't have any health problems, and they attribute that to, oh, I'm a good person. If nothing bad, if only good things happen to me, that must mean I'm a good person. And I'm like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. I feel like I can see where throwing up prayers at the end of it all, if you tried actual solutions, would be all right, last hope, peace of mind.
I get it.
Throw it out there. But
sure,
not as the main driver, guys. Come on, man.
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
This segues into my next point of alternative medicine treatment. That's pretty prominent amongst Asians with Eastern medicine, where they do the gaoya, which is where they have the coin that they rub on your ribs, your back, to try and promote blood flow and stuff there when you have a cold or a sickness. But it's bro, the same treatment is not going to work on I don't know, COVID or something.
No, it is not.
I also heard about cupping because they taught us that in medical school because for some reason, I guess it was used to be thought that these children who got cupping done to them were being abused. Yeah. So that's something that's now being taught in medical schools.
So you're not accidentally call CPS on Asian people?
Yeah. Maybe that's also why there's some distrust.
Because
people were getting called CPS.
What you saying? Asians these doctors keep calling the cops on us.
We can't trust them.
But I can see how that probably did bring some mistrust between populations that do use alternative techniques.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see alternative techniques to using Western medicine, improper, Thermoflu, man. Like, how often were you young? And like, hey, sprain my ankle, Thermaflu. Like,
or put Solon paws on your feet.
yeah, my family does that. Put Solon paws on your feet, which like I don't see. That's not what was intentional.
It's better than
Or
Windex
Tiger
from
Balm.
my Greek fat wedding, my big fat Greek wedding.
Right. Or who, like Sean, I'm sure Tiger Balm.
Tiger Balm, Vicks, all of those. All of it.
Right? You got a cold, Tiger Balm. You got cancer, Tiger Balm.
Oh my God. For my mom, it was Vicks Vapor Rub. Rub that shit on your chest.
Vapor Rub for sure.
Yep.
Yo.
Shirt on. Rub it on.
If that's true, everyone at Echo Stage, everyone at a rave is like the healthiest person there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, like things like that, like being pretty prominent, I think, is also what kind of drives, I guess, the community from away from healthcare. Because it's like, why spend money when we have our doctors at home?
right?
Yeah.
Oh, saving money. Yeah, it's so. I feel like that's a driving force behind. You know, like people like to think, oh, like if you don't have any don't bother going to a doctor unless you show symptoms. But what is that from? Like, is that really rooted in like saving money?
It's complex. Like, I actually don't blame most people for not seeking out healthcare because of the costs. It's quite ridiculous, even with insurance.
That's true.
American healthcare isn't like the U.S. like not even like the top 20 like healthcare systems in the world. It's like 30 something or whatever. Like you have like Colombia or like, you know, all these other countries like.
It's really good if you can afford it.
Yeah, because they can afford it.
Yeah.
Right? For the same amount of money, like, you know, just to fix like a broken hip in the US, you can like have a vacation like Germany.
Yeah.
And like get the operation done and then just chill like, at a villa for like two weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's also just ignorant though.
Like, there's also ignorance. Like, ignorance is bliss.
I remember that you had like you were listening to a lecture.
Yes.
And the doctor said it was a black doctor, and he was talking about a black patient, and he was saying like he had a patient saying, proudly saying, I haven't had to see a doctor in like 20 or 25 years. And he was like, no, like you're supposed to go, for those who don't know, you're supposed to go every year, at least once a year.
Yes.
Because it's so much easier to prevent shit than it is to cure it.
Yeah.
And women should also be seeing their OBGYNs annually as well.
Yeah.
Just so they're aware.
There's some hang-ups on that too. Like you hear about, you know, women are like, oh, if like you get checked out in there, you're no longer, then you get divergenized by your doctor or something like that. It's like,
not everything's like being divergent. They need to calm down.
It's the same people who probably think this up your butt is gonna make you gay.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same. Like, but they're like, the thing is, they're like convinced. I know they're like convinced of it. I know it's hard to like break a habit, but how did you get there in the first place? So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be pissed off about it though. But anyway,
yeah. I mean, there's that. There's the general like distrust of like things that aren't what people perceive as natural, as well. Even though like people are like, oh, compounds. I'm like, well, everything's a compound. So
yeah, it's funny because people are like, oh, like use natural remedies or something. It's like technically no remedy over the last 1,000 years is natural.
I'm like, have you looked at the back of a homeopathic thing? None of those things sound normal.
Not even just that, but people are like, oh, that's not natural. Use this like rhino horn or like dusted rhino horn.
Yeah.
Where'd you get this rhino horn from?
This horny goat weed or some shit.
Isn't that a Vietnamese belief, right? Like if you snort like a dusted rhino horn, then it'll cure like erectile dysfunction. But sure, that's more trustworthy than Viagra. Whatever.
Yeah. Go kill a rhino and snort its horn and see what happens. You'll go to jail for poaching. But your dick will be huge. You'll be a great hit in the jail.
Hey, you joke about it, but it's like thousands of dollar industry. $1,000 industry. Thousands.
The poor rhinos.
Yeah.
Or people could just, treat their bodies right. Maybe not smoke. or drink.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean,
That
you
is
see
so
a-
true, Jashelle. You are correct.
You see a lot.
As you're sipping on your wine right now.
It's actually grapes.
Hey,
They are grapes.
Well, I will say one thing: red wine does have antioxidants, so
so yeah. So actually, Marshall's ahead of the curve, but
Go it.
yeah, just as long as you're not gulping down the whole bottle.
yeah. Or like I see a lot of memes of that too. Of people are like, "Oh, like not trusting like the COVID vaccine, right?" It's like I don't want unnatural things inside me as I smoke like 2 packs a day and drink and like
Right? Those are
slam
the
down
best
like a couple
ones.
cases of beer.
Yeah.
It's like okay, but
Yeah, not only that, there's also been just historical like BS.
Yeah.
You guys can enlighten us.
Unfortunately, there's some history within the medical community about certain groups of people, Black people, where they may have experimented on them, such as
Yeah.
Tuskegee. And there's also the case of Henrietta Lacks. If you don't know much about Henrietta Lacks, it's she basically had, I believe it was cervical cancer. And they used, at Johns Hopkins, they used her cells to basically develop a cell line that is now being used today within the scientific community. The issue about it, though, was that they never really, I guess you could say in a form, they never really
compensated
her family, never really gave reparations, and so to speak, to basically her whole contribution to a scientific discovery.
which is kind of ironic now I'm thinking about it, because isn't there a problem with like medical textbooks or like what's being taught is mostly based on the physiology of
A white male?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
it is.
when there are certain differences,
And there's definitely not enough research on drugs that you can give to pregnant women, because there's definitely needs to be more research on that.
Yeah. You see that in even the fitness industry too, just like catering training to like a woman's menstrual cycle, which is like something that you would think would be duh, but that's actually pretty like revolutionary and new right now within the past few years.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's like because everything is just so male centric. So yeah, it sucks that you don't have enough of that data, or
Everything's not just
Yeah,
male
yeah.
centric, but like white male centric, right?
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Kind of reminds me because people used to believe like what black people, especially black women in labor, they didn't feel pain the same as everyone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, there's for some reason that like the floating around that Black people have thicker skin, so it's harder to pierce their skin.
To jab it.
Black people have higher pain tolerances, apparently,
Bullshit.
which is bullshit. But there was a lot of misinformation that is very racist
Yeah.
that goes around in the medical community, and it's still, I would love to say that it's changed and it's better, and it kind of is, but I feel like there's still always room for improvement.
Yeah, for sure.
The mortality and morbidity rate of Black women in pregnancy is abysmal in this fucking country. I really wish the medical community would work on their implicit bias that they have going on.
Even though it varies by state, like even in California,
It's definitely a lot better in California.
but it's still more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
More black women per capita die from childbirth than white women. Even though the numbers are a lot better than the other side of the spectrum, which I think is like Indiana
Yeah, it was crappy.
or Arkansas, one of those states, and where it's like 6 times you're like as a black woman, you're 6 times more likely to die from childbirth.
Mm-hmm. So,
Asian women actually have it well off.
yeah, they
weirdly
do.
enough,
They have actually some of the best
Jeez.
rates.
in the U.S.
So, Black women, my advice: never be afraid to advocate for your care.
Raise hell if you have to.
To definitely look into getting a doula.
For those who don't know, what is a doula?
So, a doula is a trained I guess you could say, like a trained medical professional with specialties in prenatal care, birthing experience, and even postpartum care. And their main job is basically to be the voice for the mom. Like you can sign up for either just mainly prenatal, you can have them during the birthing, and you can have them post. So really up to you how you would like them to cater towards your care.
Yeah. Going back to what Jashelle said, this kind of leads to the next thing too, where you think there's justification behind these biases. And the point I was going to make was to reiterate was to definitely be your own advocate very strongly when it comes to the medical community, because like even my sister dealing with her, I think Crohn's issues and stuff like that, just getting the doctor to be on board with like being on top of her like blood work and like not realizing that she's developed antibodies for certain medicines, so she can't use them anymore. Like the fact that she has to keep reminding them that, I can see why a lot of people do have distrust with the medical field, obviously, because based on personal experiences with things like that as well. But what other reasons do you guys think that there might be some, or if any, if there's justification behind these biases that we just discussed?
I have a question for you, for your sister. Is she dealing with like different doctors, or is it the same doctor fucking up over and over?
So this is her fourth doctor that she's dealt with. They all fucked up. Like none of them have been good. But that's the only one that she gets like that's cover. I guess she has insurance coverage for, or has been overseeing her treatments for the past couple of years or whatever. But a lot of them, they all seem to be like that, and they tend to think that they know all the answers to, which understandable. You guys went to med school for so many years and stuff like that, but like, I don't know, man. Some of these stuff is like pretty basic oversight.
How do you respond to that?
Come here. I feel like oversight issues is actually kind of common, genuinely speaking. I do think there is not enough people working in healthcare to combat how many patients one office actually has.
Oh, so you're thinking they're spread too thin?
I do believe that is part of the issue. Then it reflects back into a patient's care. So I do believe people are spread very thin. Like your doctor's office could be having like 50 patients, and there's like one physician, maybe one nurse practitioner, and a few nurses at the office. That's a huge patient load, whether people believe it or not, because diseases are very complex. And I know everyone thinks theirs is either the worst or the only patient to this doctor, but that unfortunately isn't the case. And unfortunately, we don't have that many doctors. Really speaking, there is a shortage in quite a few specialties. Yeah. So people are spread very thin.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's not enough? There's just not enough.
Because funding? They charge so much to go to school.
That is fair.
Listen, medical schools, if you fucking decrease the price, maybe you have more people. And let's talk about government not having enough residency spots for the people that are actually in school right now. So there are people that during this match season right now couldn't match into a residency because there's not enough spots. And it's your fucking government's fault. Okay, I'm going to sit off my high horse now.
You're good, though. That and just like how long it takes too. It's a lot of sacrifice to go all the way through med school.
Yes, it's a huge time commitment.
Yeah.
I really do feel like people should know that it takes a long time to become a physician.
How long?
You have... Yeah. Well, you go to high school, and then you have 4 years undergraduate, usually, because some people, it takes 5 years to graduate. Mm-hmm. And then you have 4 years medical school, and then sometimes that can take up to 5 or 6 years because you can go to med school and also get your PhD. And usually that's a combined program. And that actually ends up being like 5 or 6 years. So it really depends. And then some people also take gap years to do research. So you're looking at undergrad, 4 to 5 years potentially. And then you're looking at medical school, can be between 4 to 6 years, depending on how many, if you're doing a PhD or if you're doing a research year.
You took you took long because you had to take your master's too, right?
Yeah, I took my master's after. So some people do that. And then residency. So residency is tricky. So depending on what kind of specialist you want to be. If you want to be a neurosurgeon, you're looking at 7 years in your residency.
Yeah, it's going to be long.
That's God bless neurosurgeons.
You gotta be like fucking geniuses, right?
But that's why there's so few neurosurgeons. Because let's be real, most of us in med school are like, fuck that shit. I'm not doing 7 extra years to be paid like only $60K after graduating when I have like $500,000 of debt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which leads to the other thing, like Sean, you mentioned like it's a huge sacrifice. Some sacrifice more than others, and I'm like mainly financially.
Yeah.
So like these kind of like, because it's so expensive and so time consuming, and if you're smart, I know a lot of people like, moonlight or like work like during medical school, but that's like the easiest way to tank your grades, right? So guess who gets the top scores, or guess who becomes like the top doctors and get the spots? Usually rich people. Yeah. Usually like, or like people in like legacies, right? People who are already in like medical families, or people who are just wealthy and don't have to worry about having to, pay rent.
Yeah.
Right. Something as innocuous as that. So of course, like a lot of people are going to be like, I could be a doctor, but I need to take care of like my kids, or I need to take care of my siblings, or I need to take care of my parents, or I need to take care of myself.
Which is kind of like my situation. So I know quite a few classmates who come from either 2 physician households or 1 physician households. So
they don't have to worry about debt at all.
No, there is like a guy in my class who would always go up to like Vermont and snowboard every weekend during first and second year. Wow. I won't lie, I fucking hated his guts. But I come from, my parents are divorced, so it's mostly my mom who did a lot of the financial supporting during my undergrad. And then I got my master's in biotechnology, and that was all loans. Like my mom couldn't really help me there. I was loans and me working as a nurse assistant for 3 years. And then medical school, it's all loans for me because I don't have that kind of financial backing.
Nor do I. I can't But
I will say I am luckier than most because I am married to you, who is actually making a income.
Yeah.
So I am luckier than most medical students, because I know some people do believe that a lot of physicians probably were already wealthy from the get-go. Not really. I'm like, yeah, there are definitely those who came from money.
Who snowboard all the time, or golf or whatever.
But you do have physicians who rose up from very unfortunate circumstances or just middle-class families. So a lot of us do end up taking out a lot of loans to get to school.
And a lot of people seem to think that like the costs stop at medical school, but that's not true, because then you have to pay for interviews, you have to pay to travel to those interviews, you have to pay to apply to your isn't that some shit? You have to pay money to apply to work in order to get a job. What kind of bullshit is that?
That's some of that booty milk right there.
Yeah, residency. Applying for residency is not like your typical applying for a job. It's a whole, like, you're gambling basically about where you're going to match, first of all.
And just because you paid for it doesn't mean you got in.
It doesn't even mean you get an interview.
Yeah. They can reject you outright. And it's just like, why did I spend that money? Too bad, it's ours now. So,
and then your board exams, let's see. I think I just dropped $700
to take a test that you are required to take.
Yeah.
Yep. And
like you already paid tuition, and then you got to pay extra money in order to take the tests that the school was for.
And you got to take like 3 of them. So, and they only increase in price. So like the third one's like 1,000 something.
And to me, all that says to me is like these barriers are here to like make sure that most of the people who finally end up getting like that doctorate or end up becoming doctors are gonna most likely be rich white people.
So there is a huge barrier into becoming a physician, which is why there is part of the issue of, not a lot of us, which is why I know a lot of people have probably experienced this. When you need to see your doctor or you're trying to find a specialist, it's like a 3-month wait, if not longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say like, oh, you have cancer. We need to treat this immediately. I could pencil you in
2 months later.
In July? Is that okay with you?
So
thanks.
It is, they're trying to encourage more applicants.
Especially from like diverse backgrounds,
especially
right? They're trying to, because it's not diverse enough.
But it's hard. The money aspect to go into become a physician is hard. Like even my own mother was kind of like, "Are you sure you really want to do this?"
That's so unheard of in an Asian household. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
Like straight up, my mom was like, "Why don't you just be a nurse?" And it's like, but I don't wanna.
Yeah, I feel like Sean could probably. I don't know if Sean has experienced the same thing, but I could tell you, like, if you said you wanted to be a doctor, you're like, most likely your parents would be like, "Yay!" Not, "Oh, are you sure? It's expensive."
Well, depending on which Asian community, they wouldn't suggest alternatives like nursing for sure, because like we were discussing before the podcast, I feel like Asian families want us to become doctors, not for helping people. That's like the last thing on the list. That's like a bonus, a cherry on top. It's mainly for the status.
No, that's a demerit. That's a negative, right?
Yeah. Like, what? You're helping people too?
Help people?
I guess that's
Why are you helping people? Help your family.
Yeah, I guess that's cool. And it's funny because like they're the last people who would want to also see doctors.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, why are you making us become doctors?
Because there's the language barrier aspect to that for some immigrant families. Definitely have experienced language barriers a lot in either the clinic or in the hospital. Luckily, most places have translators, but when that translator is not available or the patient insists on trying to speak in English,
they might not understand it. They might not understand what's going on with their bodies.
Know if they fully comprehend what is being said to them.
Yeah.
And then it's never necessarily really appropriate to use family as translators because there's always the worry that the family member isn't telling everything.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't there a movie with Awkwafina about that? What was it called? It was like The Farewell.
Yeah, The Farewell.
That's that one was,
Yeah.
But that also played into like a cultural thing, though, right?
Yeah, it's the belief, and it kind of goes along with what I said earlier about like, oh, if you don't have symptoms or if you're not diagnosed, then it doesn't really exist. So like the idea is like, oh, if you're, for those who haven't seen The Farewell, basically like, but it does reflect on particularly Chinese culture. I'm not sure how big this is in like Vietnamese culture. But basically, if like your grandmother or something is like their health is deteriorating, it's better not to tell them because they believe like, oh, by letting them know, it'll just make it worse. Like it'll make the sickness worse. Which to me, I'm like, what makes the sickness worse? The sickness getting worse.
Yeah. Like, you're not wrong there. Like, no.
The disease getting worse is what's making a problem. It's not like necessarily their belief in it, or like their acknowledgement of it. But yeah, it's like the idea like, oh, like it's better they don't worry about it. But then how can they make decisions? Like how can they express like bodily autonomy or like make decisions about their own body?
I can see that being a thing in the Viet community too, because it's like similar with mental health as well. That usually gets just swept out of the rug. Like for a lot of things, like if it's out of sight, out of mind, then it's like everyone's good. No worries, everyone's good.
Oh,
mental health. I can't believe
that's a huge thing for me because I actually want to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So mental health is a huge.
Ooh, yeah.
Mental health in like the African American community.
Oh God.
We were told never to go to a therapist because what you got to complain for? I'm like, what the? So many things.
Yeah.
So many things.
Oh, in the words of my mother,
pray more.
Pray more.
My parents are like, what do you need to talk about? I feel depressed. What are you depressed for? You're like 16. You're just starting to shut the fuck up. Like, I'm depressed. Yeah. Like, nah, just go do some chores. I'm like, oh.
I argue in this world today, like teenagers probably need more. The world's on fire. Right?
Oh, God.
But
yes.
And ass whoopings.
Yeah.
That's a different topic, though.
I mean, I can't believe I forgot to, like, that didn't even occur to me to talk about mental health, because I remember as a kid, I was worried. Actually, I know now that I have depression, right? And also when I was younger, I suspected that I might have had like ADD or ADHD. Just feel like inability to focus. Like the only reason I could focus in class was because I usually like just had a sketchbook. So I had to do something with my hands, or else I would definitely not listen in class, right? But I remember like asking my parents to get me like evaluated, like see a therapist or something. Just like, yeah, at the time I felt I had signs of depression, and they were just like, along the same lines, like, oh, it's because you're not praying enough, or like you don't need to, or they thought like nothing's wrong with you. What are you saying? We raised you wrong? Like they took it personally.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like thinking like if there's something. Exactly. It's like if something's mentally wrong with me, that means they did something wrong. It's like no, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just how you are.
Yeah.
But like I thankful now that I have the ability to see a therapist on my own terms, which I still do. So
yeah,
I need to probably look into that. I stopped seeing mine for about a couple months, but I'm pretty good right now. So I don't know. I'm happy.
Nice. But that's the thing about therapists. To me, it's like
you shouldn't need them long term.
That's true.
You shouldn't need them long term, but at the same time, you should like every once in a while. Like I think I heard it described as like it's like brushing your teeth, brushing your brain. Like nothing's wrong with it, but tune up. There you go.
Yeah, because like I go to like a chiropractor / physical therapist often just to make sure like everything's going. But people are like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? Like, are you broken? Are you hurt?" It's like there's nothing inherently wrong with me. I'm just trying to get on top of shit,
Yeah. Preventing will save you so much more grief than having to deal with it when it's too late.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's also kind of like why people have that distrust of like the medical field or healthcare, because like they don't have that mindset. It's like, oh, there's always something inherently wrong, or like there's like a hierarchy of like diseases that you get. Like, oh, like you said, if you had ADHD or a depression, then the family is going to try and say you don't have that, because otherwise if they do, then there's something that they did wrong, or like somehow it messes with their status in the community. It's like, oh, that kid, that family has that kid with that who's always sick all the time. They must not treat their kid correctly or something.
Yeah. Or they take it as like, oh, like you're calling us bad parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're not being grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's annoying. The other thing they're saying is like, oh, like my grades were too good or like too decent to have ADHD. It's like that also
that's not
also
necessary qualification for it.
Don't listen to that. They're stupid, Joe. They're stupid. Where are they at now?
I'm making a checklist of things not to do with my kids.
Yeah.
Can't wait for your kids. Oh my God. They're going to watch One Piece.
You stay away from them. You're just going to like...
Don't you dare tell them what to do.
Make them watch One Piece.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
I don't want them wearing... If I see a goddamn straw hat in my damn house, it better be like conical.
Go tell your dad. I want to be the Pirate King, son of a bitch.
Fuck no.
Yes. You're welcome.
Stay away from my kids.
Oh man. But yeah, going off of that, Jashelle, what are some examples you can give us of people of color being hesitant to trust healthcare? And I guess how can we remedy that or open up to the other guys afterwards too? Like, what are ways you can build a good relationship with healthcare?
I think we covered, we already talked about two examples, right? The guy who doesn't see a doctor for like decades at a time, and the other guy who won't get a colonoscopy. Anything else?
I know amongst women there is some hesitancy, and this isn't just to women of color either, but it's mostly because I know there's a lots of different stories of a woman seeking health care and basically being blown off and being told it's either their period, they have anxiety, or they're just
being dramatic. Or on drugs.
That's an issue.
Amongst Black women.
That tends to be more of an issue amongst people of color.
Yeah.
Being accused of
like, oh, you're just here to like steal drugs or something like that.
But then again, the opioid crisis does tend to sway a little bit more on a paler side.
Yeah.
So there is also now some bias against Caucasian people in the ER as well.
I shouldn't laugh at it because like we saw, what did we see? Dope Sick?
Yeah.
With Michael Keaton. It's all about that, like the rise of like the addiction, like widespread addiction to Oxycontin. Yeah. It's good. Great show.
It's a great show.
Oh, we loved it.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking.
Fuck the Sacklers.
Yeah. Shh. We might get sued.
But that's definitely an example for women. I think the other issue is like you hear stories like Larry Nassar. He was a horrid physician who did terrible things
to the female Olympians, right?
Mm-hmm. So I know that has probably also raised some questions and the ability to trust physicians with, as a woman being alone in the room with them, being examined by them, especially if you're going to your OBGYN and you're getting like a vaginal exam. If you've had like previous history of sexual assault or rape, that's a huge, difficult thing for you to go through. And it's even hard to bring that up with your physician sometimes, that maybe you would prefer not to have that vaginal exam because of the history. But I would encourage people to always, like, especially women, if you're going in for your OB-GYN and they want to do an examination and it's a male physician, or even if it's a female physician and you're not fully comfortable and you want a third person in the room, you can always ask for that.
I thought that was protocol sometimes. Like
sometimes it's protocol, sometimes it's not.
Okay. Because I remember like sometimes like, getting like, like as a responsible male, getting your like testicles checked, making sure you don't have like testicular cancer. And whenever I went, not in Philadelphia, but back in Virginia, they would have a nurse or someone, a third person would have to be in the room to make sure nothing salacious was going on.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice. I never had that.
But it's not common practice at every place, but you can always ask for it.
Good to know.
In terms of people of color being hesitant, it's hard because I know that there's a shared sentiment within the African American community that
white doctors don't care about you.
Very much prefer to see a physician who looks like them.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of black doctors.
No, there's not.
There's not. Like, I remember when I was first applying to medical school, and I, just out of curiosity, I would go to class pictures and try to count on my fingers how many black students I would see. There were not a lot.
Usually on one hand, right?
Yep. I could count on one hand how many black students there were in one class. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of us. So I can see why amongst the community, it's very hard to want to get care because you have a mistrust of either an Asian or a white physician, because there's certain nuances, I do believe, that go into your medical care. And it's easier to kind of connect with someone who comes from at least a similar ethnic background.
Or trust to be vulnerable in front of someone who you think has gone through what you've gone through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
that's just very vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable.
Everyone has different comfortability, so it totally makes sense.
Exactly.
So do you think, because I remember you talking about like the rotations you've been on, where your attending was a person of color versus where they're white. Can you speak on that? Like how you felt, like what a difference that made?
For me personally?
Or your resident?
When I had a black attending, which was only, I think, twice.
What residents?
I didn't have any Black residents.
No? Oh.
A lot of my residents were from Pakistan or India.
Interesting.
But when I was with an African American attending, it felt more relaxing. And I felt like I could have a real conversation with them about kind of not even just career expectations, but just kind of like also life in general. And there were definitely some things like advice they were able to give me as a person of color in terms of you just navigating through this medical field and how they've absolutely have faced some barriers amongst either colleagues or their attending physicians when they were in residency.
Or their own patients.
So it was really nice to be able to have earnest conversations. I even had a pediatrician physician. She was white, but she was the illest. She was cool. I loved her. Dr. G is awesome. But she told me about how like she saw how different her fellow African-American resident during her residency got treated differently and how she had to work much harder to prove herself. So it's a huge difference. And then in terms of working with white physicians, oh God, some of them are chill. Like some of them are good. There was this one though. I had a physician in a surgery specialty who liked to talk politics a little too much at work.
He's a surgeon, right?
Yes, he's a type of surgeon. I'm not going to say which type because I really don't want to go there.
Okay.
But he would talk too much politics, and he would talk politics in the OR with other fellow white men who I'm going to assume were probably on the more Republican side of the, bar. But it was really awkward being in the room during those kind of conversations. Like when Biden announced that he would have his Supreme Court justice be a Black woman of color, it was weird hearing them say, this person's probably going to be underqualified. Or them assuming it was going to be Kamala for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Vice President can't be a
Doesn't make any sense at all.
But hearing stuff like that, and then there was this one occasion, because it put me in a very awkward situation because it was in the patient room with the patient and the patient's wife and the attending. And they went on a weird tirade about how racism didn't exist in the military, how racism didn't exist in the 80s. And they were looking at me in the eye, and I had to stand there and smile and be like, sure there wasn't.
Because he could fail you otherwise. Right?
Exactly. Because if I ran my mouth off to a patient and to the attending, I would have gotten a crap review. And sure, I could argue back with the school that that wasn't a fair review or evaluation, but I have no idea how that could have turned out. So I wasn't going to risk it. Yeah. And I felt so small in that situation.
It's just so weird that they say something and they look at you like, what's your reaction? Like, what did they want? Did they want justification or did they want to fight?
It felt like they wanted
validation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're Black, you can give it to us.
And it's just infuriating to have been in that situation. So I will say it's definitely more comfortable being around fellow African-American physicians. And so I can see why patients also feel similar.
So to answer Sean's question, you think having more doctors in general, like anything else, you have more people who can work the job, is probably better for everyone. But second, to also have more diverse staff as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not even just in terms of race, but also in terms of sexual orientation too, would also be great. Because there is still quite a bit of weird nuance in the medical field where people are learning to navigate how to work with the LGBTQ population in medicine.
I still remember you have. Can I talk about this? I still remember you have like classmates. They were when they were talking about that. You actually had some classmates say, "But what if I don't want to treat a gay person because of my religion?"
Wow.
And I'm just like, or a transgender person, and it's just like, then why do you want to be a doctor?
Yeah, like didn't you
You're not a doctor.
That was my question. Right? Like, how did you ended up in med school? Because when it comes to medicine, you should typically have an unbiased look on how you care for patients. For God's sakes, if a prisoner came into the fucking hospital, we treat them. Mm-hmm. You just do.
Mm-hmm. I remember there was a scene.
You're gonna treat them.
Yeah, I remember there was a scene that makes you think it was like The Good Doctor, right?
Yeah.
There was an episode where like they brought in two patients. It was a robber and the girl he shot in like a convenience store, right? But the robber, he was a neo-Nazi. Mm-hmm. You can see that from like his tattoos. And I remember like one of the residents was trying to like prioritize like the girl who got shot, right? But rightfully so, her attending said, "No, he's at more risk. Like we need to treat him. We need to treat him. He has priority. We need to treat him first." And he was like, "I know it sucks. Like no." Like I know he's a shitty person, but we don't get to make those judgment calls. You treat everyone
the same.
You treat everyone the same based on like the care they need, not for any other reason. So it goes both ways. Like, you know, you can't if you don't like gay people, that doesn't mean you can like shut like, oh, I'm just not going to treat this person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Same goes for patients, though, too. If you are racist, but the person treating you happens to be in a different race,
good luck.
You ask for
a different doctor,
you're not going to get the best response in some places. Because, well, one, that might be the only physician in that specialty that is in the hospital. So you have no choice.
Again, there's not that many doctors.
Unless you leave against medical advice, which you can do. You absolutely can do.
Good luck.
But generally speaking, most physicians have each other's backs in terms when patients do stuff like that, when they request a physician of their race due to racism. Mm-hmm. But it's a kind of weird kind of like navigation where it's also like, could it be considered that African American patients are being racist for preferring an African American physician? And it's like, so it's a weird gray area. It's not one or the other.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a difference between you know, wanting a doctor of your race because you feel like you can talk to them or feel like you can relate certain things or they will understand you better versus, oh, I want a doctor of this race because someone else, because a black doctor might be inferior. Yes. Or they say like, oh, a black doctor isn't as qualified. They got in through affirmative action, so I don't want that.
Yes, that's hugely different.
Yeah. Which is a common sentiment, right?
It's a common sentiment amongst certain groups of people that African Americans who are in higher education only get there because of affirmative action.
Yeah. That's something to think. Like, you see that, and Sean, if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and tell me, but you see that amongst like the Asian community, right? People who think like, oh, who blame like not just in the medical field, but in like higher education in general.
Taking their spots or whatever.
Yeah. It's like, oh, like an Asian person said they lost their seat because they're trying to give more seats to black people. Which to me, the way I see it, imagine like you had 100 like cookies, right? Mm-hmm. And or let's say 75% of those cookies went to white people. Mm-hmm. And so you have remaining 25 cookies. And then you have like, 20 of those remaining cookies to Asian people and then 5 cookies to black people. And then they decide to give like, more cookies to black people. why on earth, as an Asian person, would you blame the black person for taking the cookies than the white people who have like 75% of them?
Not only that, it's also like, bro, if you lost the seat, it's because you're the scrubbiest of our community, man. So,
Oh
like,
my god!
so like, get the
Get
fuck
him,
out
Sean.
of here with
Get
that
him.
bullshit, man.
Yeah.
Did you suck dick, bro? Get out
I
of
was
here.
like, I'm sorry that you didn't get a hypothetical seat because you know, it's like those stupid people who are like, yeah, I would have made it to the Olympics, and they're like, nowhere, anywhere close to like being varsity or D1. Like, come on, get out of here with that.
I think people do underestimate probably how many people of a certain race are actually applying higher education.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure there's a significantly more amount of
Asian applicants,
Asian and white applicants than there are like Hispanic or Black or Native American applicants.
Again, application fees are expensive.
And then
School's expensive. Like, even if you get in, like, what's the guarantee they would even be able to afford it? So I think you told me, like, people don't even some black people don't even bother.
No, because
or most black people won't even bother.
Because there's a huge money barrier there.
Yeah,
it's expensive to go to medical school. It really is. The applications, the MCAT, and then when you get to school, you got to buy your own medical equipment. Sometimes you have to buy your books. There's lots of books.
I guarantee the people who do apply, they'll have a much more interesting story. Because that's the other thing that I think about whenever I hear like Asian people complain about not getting into med school. I'm like, was your resume or your application, did you look exactly the same like someone else? Like, oh, I like straight A's and didn't do any other extracurriculars besides academic. Mm-hmm. No one wants that. No one wants that anymore. You're boring.
I think people want to think that the grades should matter the most, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. I know plenty of people who test well, but they're dumb as a fucking bag of rocks.
Exactly.
We knew that from VCU. There's a lot of people who are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wait. What? VCU was like that? What do you mean?
There's a lot of people who are like in the guaranteed med program. I'm like, bro, you guaranteed? Damn, I'm.
Were you like, how the fuck did you get in?
Yeah, because it's like, their parents wrote their essays for them and a bunch of other things.
Oh,
yeah, they did. Like, it's like, come on, bro. Like, all right, then.
Yep, those essays. They knew how to write them really well.
Yeah, like, I'm like, I'm really fearful that you're going into the medical field and concerned because you're like one of those people who are just doing it either off legacy or you were told to do it and you don't actually care about helping people. So
right?
You're going to be a shitty doctor anyways.
That's way too common a problem with Asian people in general, and in like the law, medical, or engineering fields. Right. I'm like that. So,
well, damn, Joe, shit.
Textbook extracurriculars.
I'm not going to go into it.
Okay,
moving on.
I love you.
But yeah, like it sucks, and it's weird that people assume like a black student who got in doesn't merit. And you know what? Maybe they just have a better story than you. Or they had better grades than you, honestly.
Probably smart as fuck.
Yeah. To have to do, and also like not even smart as fuck, but also like anytime, and I'm thinking about Northern Virginia, anytime you go through like an Asian community, like Asian populated place, guess what you can always see? A fucking Kumon. So there are always build a Kumon, Asians will come. Is what I would.
Which is highly different. Say if we just drive a couple blocks past City Avenue and you go into a more prominent
like
area
West Philly, South Philly,
with African American and Hispanic population, and you see liquor store, convenience store, liquor store, convenience store.
Like people don't understand. Like even if it's merit based, like that merit, you were probably uplifted just by like the neighborhood you live or like the tutoring you can afford.
Yeah,
the
versus
different
cultural
schooling
difference is huge
because the tax money that goes back into your schools matters. I mean, I love this show called Abbott Elementary because it's a perfect example of the West Philadelphia school system and how it's not
how shitty.
It's hard to help the students
To no fault of the teachers.
To no fault of the teachers, because just money's not there. The money's not properly distributed in order to help the students.
Or the kids can't get the tutoring they need. Like, whatever.
So it's
there are so many, like, it's complex. It's a complex situation that people think is just, oh, good grades, bad grades. That's it. It's like, no,
there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And it's not the parents' fault.
Necessarily.
I hate hearing stuff like that. Well, the parents should have tried blah, 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 or done this differently if they wanted their kid to do X, Y, Z.
Easy to say that when you have like a house that's been in your family for like 3 generations.
Right.
Yeah. And not only that, it's also like, even if the students came from like more poor resources or whatever, it's like all the more impressive, in my opinion, the fact that they got hella good grades. If anything, that shows way more aptitude than some kid who got spoon-fed at like some fucking prep school and doesn't know how to think on their own and got like a 5.0. Like, come on, man.
It's a hell lot easier to get straight A's if you've never had to worry about where your next meal's coming from.
Yeah.
For sure. So to draw to your point, Sean, so what do you think, like, so how do you think the Asian minority, model minority myth plays into it too? Because a lot of people would argue like, oh, like these, like they come from immigrant families. They literally had nothing.
Well,
I have some thoughts on that, but I want to hear what you had to say.
It's because we still benefit from a lot of non-barriers, like barriers that got broken down by Black people, or we don't even have to worry about it because we're not Black, we're not Black immigrants. So
like getting home loans, right?
Yeah, we had that. We had like a lot of refugee assistance when it came to the Vietnam War. There's so many things that we got benefited from. So like to compare minorities like that and like put us as a model minority as being like, oh, we could do it, then why can't? It's mainly just a divisive wedge. Like that's all it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What were your thoughts about it?
Pretty much echoing yours, honestly. And that I was thinking about like the refugee assistance, and also not just that, but like during that time, I think the only reason why Americans started uplifting, like there was government assistance, like Americans did invite more Asian immigrants because Russia was doing the same thing. It really comes down to it, like war, right? Yeah. Russia was doing the same thing. Russia was recruiting from like China and other like their neighboring Asian countries to, because they were smart. They wanted the best engineer. They wanted the best people, right? Yeah. So US saw that and wanted to do the same thing. Yeah. And because of that, people say, oh, like these Asian immigrants came from nothing. It's like, they're literally recruiting the best and brightest, most educated. It's easy to be a model minority if you're literally only letting in the straight A students, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Then of course they're going to do well. Like, I'm pretty sure that didn't extend to like, poor fishermen.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like it's not a monolith either. There's definitely a lot of struggling Asian communities that also get wiped under the rug too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, we're just used as a chess piece in that discussion usually when it comes to that. Which is stupid.
No, a lot of Asian people who buy into it, like, how's it benefiting you? Are you actually getting the fair piece of the pie anyway?
Yeah.
And if you're not, why are you blaming other minorities when it's, this is a white society. This is a white dominated society. There, everyone's in control.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thoughts on why do you think there's been a higher rate of distrust in healthcare, particularly in the age of COVID? Do you guys feel like throughout this whole pandemic that there's been improvements in trust with like the medical field or distrust?
No. I don't want to put the COVID shot. They're going to put nano things in my body.
I want 5G. Damn. I want to be techno boy.
Yeah.
No, I don't trust. I need science.
I wanted my X gene activated. Damn it!
Right? Give my optic glass. Right?
These are the same people who can't spell science or healthcare talking about they're going to put stuff in our body. Yet you put meth, crystals, and a bunch of other shit in your body. But
hey, that's science, man. I've seen Breaking Bad.
I'm the one who knocks.
It's mostly
Oh boy.
an echo chamber of misinformation.
There's a huge echo chamber of misinformation. And
What, horse tranquilizers don't work?
no.
Horse deworm the COVID.
Ivermectin is actually used for parasites. There is a human form of it too. It's usually reserved for parasites that honestly you don't commonly fucking see.
Yeah.
Definitely not for viruses.
No, it's not for viruses.
Yeah.
I would just like the tagline: if you have a viral infection, you do not need antibiotics, so stop asking your healthcare provider for them when it's a viral infection.
Indeed.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people do that. And sometimes you tell them and they're like, oh, but it makes me feel more reassured. And I'm just like, that's a waste of an antibiotic, though.
And you're also increasing your risk of
Super
destroying your gut microbiome, which you really don't want to do, because it's a whole field of research that people are actually trying to get into, how it connects to your mental health, how it can connect to rheumatoid diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis. So yeah, you don't want to take too many antibiotics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still remember. Do you mind if I talk about it? Like, just a small bit of it.
Oh yeah.
That you had to be seen by a doctor, and they detected signs, like very small signs of a possible asymptomatic UTI.
Yeah.
Right? Like she probably wouldn't needed to be treated for it, most likely. Like any other, I think other doctors that we've seen have said, like, if they had seen it, they would have ignored it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't causing you any problems.
No.
And so they gave you like the harshest antibiotic there was.
Not the harshest there was. There's harsher.
Oh, hell no.
But those are reserved for like sepsis.
Yeah, well, but like you said, unfortunately, I think because so many people keep asking for antibiotics, I think that's also created a culture of like doctors giving them out like candy. So they gave her like Keflix, right?
Yeah, it was
and
Keflix.
It took a year, if not longer, to rebuild your stomach.
Yeah,
it was completely unnecessary, which kind of goes into like why there's a distrust in healthcare because of like shit situations like that.
Yeah,
right. Like doctors are not being careful or discretionary; they're just trying to like swat a fly with a tank.
Yeah, so. that sounds like poor doctor. It's like the ones who would be like, "Oh, you have a herniated discs. Let's go get some surgery." And it's like, "But I'm okay." It's like, "Nah, let's not give you surgery then and fuck up your whole recovery process." It's like stuff like that. Which
ugh. How many of those do you get, man? Sometimes like I'm watching your Instagram videos. I'm like, oh, remember to link it. People follow Sean. It is crazy. But I will say it's very scary because I'm like, dude, I saw you like squat like 400 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 540 or something like that.
Oh, 5'4". Wow. I thought you were going to be not that high. 400 is low.
Only 540.
Only 540.
That's
You're a bitch, Sean.
Jesus.
This guy's because I usually put it in kilos is why.
We're in America. We don't use the metrics. What the fuck is this?
What the fuck is a kilo? I don't even know how much a kilo is in pounds.
It's 2.2 pounds.
First off, no.
Oh, fuck. But yeah, like I said, I see it. Like, how many injuries do you get per year, dude?
Not that much anymore.
15.
Now that
that's good.
I've learned a lot of physical therapy rehab stuff.
Good, because I'm scared of you being like 80.
Are you stretching?
Yes,
John.
Yeah, but I'm also more importantly
appropriately stretching, like long stretches, Sean.
Long stretching.
He's looking at it like sensually.
I'm not trying to say essentially, but but I hope you are actually stretching because you really, really, really should. That is a cause for a lot of injuries amongst people who work out. Is because they work out and then they don't stretch.
This is why I don't work out. I'm just kidding. Work out. Ow.
You're guilty of it. You work out and then you do like, I'm going to just reach my arms up in the air for a little bit.
And then I feel so much pain for the next few days because I didn't stretch properly.
Get on.
So don't be like Joe people. Actually stretch. Like hold the stretch for like a minute.
A minute? Who got that long?
This is your woman.
It's always 12 seconds.
the breathing involved is more important than the stretch itself because
Yes, that is also very important.
yeah, because what most people get tight is because of and this is like a side tangent, is because their muscles around aren't allowing their like either their rib cage, their hips, or their spine to have the relative motion that it needs to access. Jashelle would definitely be able to elaborate in terms of like the anatomical connections and stuff like that. But yeah, what stretching tries to do is to allow you to do that, but sometimes it doesn't because people's are more in
Aren't
their
breathing through their stretches either.
Yeah, they're more in their what is it, the parasympathetic state, where it's the fight or flight, or is that the sympathetic? The sympathetic. Yeah, sympathetic side. So like if you are stuck in that side, your body doesn't tend to let go of things. So it's very crucial to like belly breathe and stuff like that so that your body can connect it to the nervous system to actually get the results. Otherwise, you could stretch a lot and still not really get much because you're fighting it internally.
You're tight.
Yeah.
Breathing right? I've breathed all my life.
A lot of people do not breathe right. A lot of people do not breathe right.
That could be part of the problem.
Learning how to do that has helped me a lot in terms of not getting injuries and stuff like that. Because it like cascades up the chain in terms of, oh, now my shoulder blades are stacked correctly or whatnot. So like when I receive the weight, it's not like just jarring, jarring my discs. But yeah, back to our thing.
What else? This is about healthcare. It's about keeping healthy. Preventative care is always better than treatment.
Yes, which also leads us to our next point.
Saying.
What can we do better? Have we gotten better? I think the idea of thinking of it as preventative instead of just curing and treating definitely helps like crazy. Like Joe and Jashelle said, like definitely get regular checkups. Definitely like the diagnosis process is super helpful. Going to therapy is super helpful. But what else, guys? What else is helpful?
What's it all about? What's it all about?
Learn to advocate for yourself.
The rest of the words.
Know your body. I'd say go see your doctor if you're feeling really shitty. Don't wait. My girlfriend's giving me a look of like, you've never gone to the doctor. And I'm like, that's because I'm fucking healthy.
You better be.
You know I am, Joe.
Better be.
See, definitely do your annuals because they'll listen to your body. And they will also do some blood work. They'll do like a CBC, which checks for, it can check for anemia. It can check for whether or not you have an active infection. They'll do like a chemistry, which can check if there's electrolyte imbalance. They'll check your sugars to make sure that you're not in the diabetic range. They'll check all your fat levels to make sure that you're not high risk for either some certain cardiovascular disease because you have too much LDL versus HDL. LDL is the bad lipids. HDL is the good lipids. And you want more of that. You can get a lot of good fats from like eating healthy. Avocados is one of them. Different types of nuts, fishes. So you can always do that. Whatever oils you're using, olive oil is a little bit better than say like, what is it, Crisco?
Yeah, whatever that canola oil is or whatever.
On top of that too, like if you're sexually active, get your damn STD checks.
Yes.
Damn skippy.
Yeah.
If you have multiple, if you have like multiple partners in a year, get your damn STD checks. Like, stop. I still remember that one person you told me about who's like boyfriend or something refuses to.
Yes, there was a pregnant patient whose boyfriend refused to get treatment for the STD that they kept giving her and was putting her and her babies at risk.
He needs a Will Smith slap.
She was pregnant. She was pregnant, and yet he wouldn't stop fucking her, but he won't get a damn STD check because he clearly has it.
Jeez.
100%.
So definitely get STD screenings. Do the screenings that your doctor recommends. That's colonoscopy. That's your prostate. That's mammogram. That's pap smears for women.
And this doesn't get started for you, but your parents too. Because again, this kind of like, we've been talking about that. older generations have such a huge problem
Mhm.
going to the doctor. Please, for the love of God, if
Check
you
on your
have
parents.
to check on your parents, if you have to harass them about it, like otherwise you're not going to go, and then you're going to have worse problems.
Know your body. Absolutely know your body. Women, every now and then look down at your vagina. Know what it looks like. Know what it smells like, so that you know when something's different, you can seek care. Men, you can check your testicles every now and then. Feel around them. Make sure there's no lumps. Make sure
That's gay.
it's not gay. And if you ever feel an intense pain in your testicles and you start swelling up, you might want to go get checked for torsion.
Oh shit! Not torsion. Testicular torsion is horrific, man.
Wait, even though it sounds so scary, what is torsion?
It's
horrible.
basically like your testicles cord. It gets wrapped around and twisted upon it. So and the blood flow is not that usually. It's common amongst, I believe, men who do
beat off too much.
No, it's like kind of like a trauma happened to you. Like if you were
you got kicked in the nuts
in like sports or something like that.
Oh,
but it doesn't necessarily means that that's the only way to get torsion.
It sounds so awful. It sounds so painful.
It's fucking awful. It's not. There's nothing not painful about it.
Has it happened to you?
No, but like it's like an emergency situation. You better go there
torsion is absolutely emergent
before you can't get that shit reversed.
Oh God! What do you mean not reverse? It's just gonna look twisted for the rest of your life.
No, they remove the testicle.
What? No.
Then it cuts off its own
Depending
circulation.
on how severe it is, they will remove your testicle.
Yeah,
you might as well just kill me.
It just necrosis. It died. Like
it's not a death sentence to have one of your testicles removed.
Gary can't live without Larry. Okay.
They're the best friends. Can't just be separated.
Oh my
God.
Absolutely know your bodies.
Oh, and no. There's fun ways to educate yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I was singing. What's it all about? I don't know the rest of the words still.
If you are an anime fan, or if you're not an anime fan, check out Cells at Work. It's a great anime, and it's actually pretty educational.
It's very
and it has some pretty good facts about your body.
I think Dr. Mike has talked about
Cells at Work
it.
Black, which is the reverse of that.
Yeah.
Cells at Work Black will probably make
Code
you
cry.
If you
It's
have
stressful.
health anxiety, I'm not sure you should watch Code Black.
Maybe watch an episode.
Yeah, if you're a
or two.
hypochondriac, you should not watch the Code.
Oh God. Okay.
And then don't forget Osmosis Jones. I mean, come on now.
Osmosis Jones, the OG
Ozzy
cartoon.
Did you know Thrax was Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I didn't. He's like careful, I'm contagious.
Yeah. That's Morpheus.
Yeah, hell yeah. Osmosis Jones was cool.
It was.
And then never be afraid to advocate for yourself is another thing.
That's huge.
And never be afraid to seek second opinions. I
Also
know
huge.
that not every healthcare provider, whether you're seeing a physician, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, they're not all perfect. And not all of them provide the best care for yourself.
So shop around.
So you can always shop around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you want to find someone you can have a good conversation with about your healthcare. Someone who is able to explain to you what's going on with your body, why they're providing you a medication. Someone that you can come to if you're worried about side effects from your medication. Like, it's very important that you trust whoever is providing your care.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you feel like if you're intimidated or like you think you're not as educated or you feel ashamed because you don't feel like you don't fully understand, please don't let that get in the way of you getting the best healthcare. Like, so many people don't advocate for themselves because they don't want to admit that they're dumb or something, right? Or they think that they don't want to look dumb.
Not necessarily dumb, but just they don't know.
No, but they think they're dumb.
Yeah.
Like, they think they're dumb. They think like the doctor is going to judge them for not fully understanding like these scientific terms or even these like layman's terms, and then that stops them from like asking questions. Ask questions. Like, I think a doctor wants you to understand what's going on with your own body.
Yes.
Indeed. Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
All right, guys, audience. Has the color of your skin affected the way you or your family see healthcare? Leave comments below. Thanks for tuning in to Geeks Represent. If you enjoyed this discussion, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts can be found. If you want to add to this discussion, visit geeksrepresent.com. Thanks for listening and sharing with your